So, Eastern wisdom says that we can awaken to permanent peace, happiness, love, wisdom. We can get rid of the fear, anxiety, duality, conflict, confusion, suffering. That is our journey. We have a little anxiety, and we go to the refrigerator and we simply go to the refrigerator, grab a beer or a wine to relax. But that relaxation is for a shorter period. Here we are talking of permanent peace and happiness. Here we are talking of permanent peace and happiness. शक्ल भी अपनी दिखा दो, कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है. So here we are talking of permanent peace and happiness. And in order to discover that permanent peace and happiness, we need to live wisely. And we have already covered 4 factors are required to live wisely. Do you check every time that what happens after the journey, after you understand that this is what the mindfulness is? So we want to live in mindfulness or meditation 24/7. Means we live in, there is a rise in awareness, there is a calmness and a peace that permeates and pervades not only inside but also outside. So I would love to start with today's topic by giving it a title: Never Keep Your Happiness in Others' Bank Account. I just flashed into my mind in the morning. I said, oh, that would be a good way to talk and make you understand. Never keep your happiness in other bank's account, what it means. We had a scam in India and almost maybe $20 million were scammed by a minister who kept his money. You can think of it in a women's account, in a women's house. Well, smugglers, hoarders, they keep their money with a reliable and faithful team members. How much the faithful the member is. You can complete the sentence. So when we are searching peace and happiness in others, not possible. Not possible. Even with those holders and carters, they say honesty must be followed. And if one is dishonest, what happens? That. This is what happens to our mind in our daily life. If you keep your happiness in others' bank account, do whatever you want to do. It will never happen. It will never happen. Now understand, who keeps the happiness in other bank account? A seeker? No, never. Non-seeker? Always yes. Mind moves with the impulse, emotions, feelings, habits. So whenever you are frustrated, pale, anxious, tired, you have kept your happiness in other banks' account. The moment you experience any kind of anxiousness, frustration, failure, pain, anxiety, duality, blame, complaint, you have kept your happiness in others. That bank account may be your honey, maybe your father, maybe your mother, maybe someone else. So when we are a super seeker, I'm using the word, when we are a super seeker, we only need knowledge and understanding to reach to that state of mindfulness 24 by 7. Knowledge alone helps me. Why? Knowledge removes the ignorance. And what is ignorance? I'm keeping my happiness and peace in other banks' account. If we are not a super seeker, then the mind is impure. We have to undergo lot of practices. Knowledge alone reveals our true nature. And what is that true nature? It is the real self. What is that real self? You can term that real self is the absolute God. There is no fear, there is no problem in that absoluteness. So our master says that we have forgotten our true nature, which is already within us. It is already within us. So forgotten means the level of ignorance. And where the level of ignorance lives, it is in the mind. So mind says my happiness has been stolen, has been kept somewhere. He is not listening, she is not listening. I have lot of problem. I carry the burden of all the problems on my shoulders. You are a special being created by the God. That is why you carry the burden of your. So it's very good. So now come again to the topic. What is that reality? We discussed last time that the clay pot and the clay. Do you remember? Did you get a chance to go through it? We are busy. Busy means I have kept my happiness in others' account. Simple. Now we all are seekers, so we should be very clear. So we understood that clay pot is a name and it appears, but if you want to find out the clay pot, you all find clay. Whether you see the clay pot on the top, on the bottom, on the side, everywhere there is a clay. So that clay pot is the body. Wherever you see, it is all one real self, it is one consciousness. It is all one consciousness. So then our master says that this clay pot is not totally unreal and not absolutely real. It is in between. And that is known as the mithya, the false notion. So we carry that false notion with ourselves, and that is the cause of our suffering. You already know the Saturday's mindfulness is non-practice. It is all about understanding, even though so-called we will do non-practice. So what it means, the body is neither unreal nor absolutely real. I was present but child baby died. I was present, adult body died. I was present, middle aged body died. I am still there with now, well, you after 2 years you can say me senior citizen. But that senior citizen has to do with the body, not to me. It has not to do with the clay, it has to do with the clay pot. One day Miss Universe will also become a senior citizen. We do not understand this. So when I'm attracted to her, it means I'm keeping my happiness there. That much is required in our daily life. I did not change. The body is changing constantly, even after death. It means even after death, I will remain intact. Child body, adult body, middle age. I remain forever. Why to scare? Where is the fear? Whether you put the body in the coffin or you burn it, I am still there. This is the message. But it will not happen simply by lip service. So those who understand it only at the level of the lips, they will tell me that I have understood it, but I still have frustration, anger, and anxiety. I'm making it very clear. And I understand, I have read it. I have to apply this knowledge in my daily life. So one thing is clear, even after the death, I will remain present. I will remain present. To understand, pay attention to this I. This I is free from all the attributes of the body, the way the clay is free from the clay pot. You make clay of any size, of any age, of any color. But if I identify, I am keeping my happiness in the clay pot account. Because when I am the body, then only I will say, you are real as a body, and then my happiness and peace depends on others. As long as this peace, happiness, love, and wisdom depend on others, there is no chance I am not a seeker. We know it 100%. I am the owner of the house, but I am not the house. Now see, I am the owner of the house, but I am not the house. So that demands my awareness, that demands contemplation and reflection. That contemplation and reflection removes the false notion, and we enter into an extraordinary awareness. Now, we talk about extraordinary awareness. This is what the extraordinary awareness is. We never cried. We never became sad when our child body died. Did you cry? Oh, now you're sweet 16. Very good. You see. So daily experience. Child body is replaced by the adult body. We say, oh, he has grown into a handsome young man or sweet 16. Long time ago, I was also handsome. Understand this clearly. That consciousness appears as a pot. That consciousness appears as a body free from potness. that consciousness appears as a body free from bodiness. It is always there. While appearing as a pot, clay is free from the potness. Do you see that? Can I see that here and now? So when I see that, I'm already there. Calmness, peace, and the joy is there. You don't need to go inside the pot to find out the clay. I don't need it. I don't need to go inside the body. When I go inside the body, according to the science, I'll find the bones and the flesh and etc. etc. Now, so it is the clay appearing as a pot, it is the body appearing as a consciousness. I'm just putting both the logic together. I'm conscious, free from the bodiness. I am conscious, free from the bodiness. That is one. You see, a lot of challenges comes in we have different layers of the ignorance. And that different layers of ignorance, one layer of ignorance causes you anxiety. Another layer of ignorance causes you the fight. Third layer of ignorance causes you the extreme fatigue. So these are the different layers of the consciousness. So one layer of the consciousness, let me pick up one layer of the ignorance. You said that this consciousness appearing as a body, but then how can I see that this is the body of a Girish and this is the body of a David or Jerry or Rakesh or King? That doubt comes. How to resolve that doubt? Why we have 2 or 3 and millions of names? If consciousness is one, do you see? That is how the master resolves every doubt. If we remove the doubt, we are settled completely in that real self. The master says that I must give different names for different forms to distinguish one from other for transactional reality. Did you understand? We have a clay pot, height is 5 inch. We have another clay pot, height is 10 inch. So we give different names for different forms to distinguish one from the other only for transactional reality. Only for transactional reality, otherwise we are the same. Think, contemplate, think. One clay pot is here, many clay pots are there, but clay is the reality. Consciousness is the reality. Consciousness is the reality. Hold on to that level of awareness in order to go deeper. So there another confusion comes. My parents have gone, my grandparents have gone, millions of people have left the earth, but it does not change the real self. Do you see that? And I see it does not change the real self. It does not change. The I does not change the I. Do we need to know now? Another question master asks and master answers. Do we need to know all forms to know life, to know real self? Or knowing one, we know all? I know myself, I'm the real self, I'm the pure consciousness. So I know everyone that you all are also pure consciousness. Finish. Are you getting it? Are you understanding this logic and the knowledge? Do we need to know all forms to know life? No. I know myself. So that is why the Buddha says, know thyself. to know all. Huh? That is why the Buddha says, be light unto yourself. With all humility, I will say the social workers, not who are doing their professional job. No, no, I'm a social worker. I run a non-profit organization. I help other people. Help yourself first. Eastern wisdom says first help yourself. Long back when I was in 20s, I started helping others and I had an extreme fatigue. I had a lot of infection. I used to go to those places. So I said, no, let me help myself first. Do we need to know all forms to know life? No. I need to know myself. And it is impossible and pointless to know about all forms. I cannot know it through my mind. Let science do it, millions of years ago we found the fossils which was found millions of years ago, so there was a trace of life. They are looking for objective reality. Let them look at it. We have to get rid of that wrong notion. Ultimately they will find out the carbon footprint, and they will find out millions of trillions of years ago life existed on earth. Yes, I have understood. Can it help me to manage my anxiety, conflict, and anger? You have to, both the knowledge are good. I have no reservation. But can it help me? Our ancestors were chimpanzees. So start acting like chimpanzees. It is not going to help us. Every knowledge of physics, knowledge of biology, knowledge of chemistry, they all are good. But question is, I want to know myself. I should not bring that knowledge in order to know myself. It is not going to happen. Clear. So we have removed the doubt. What is the reality of the pot without self-knowledge? Now come where the ignorance comes. Now we want to know why ignorance enters. Think of it. What is the reality of the pot without self-knowledge? Or you can say, what is the reality of the pot without clay? First, answer this question. What is the reality of the pot, means the body, without the real self? We are trying to answer from where the ignorance comes. So that question will help us to understand how this ignorance enters in our life. We are going slowly. So what is the question? Question is, what is the reality of the pot without clay? Clay pot is not real. It will not exist. Clay pot will not exist without clay. One answer? So what happens? What happens? What happens? That clay pot appears as a real with the name and the form. We simply say pot. We simply say cup. Let me give you a cup of tea or a coffee. We don't talk about the clay. So we see the body, the consciousness appears as a body, is known as individual. Are you getting it? Not very difficult for super seekers. I always use clay pot. I use my house. I use my car. But behind that, there is a reality. I forget that reality. Because I forget that reality, then I start thinking and speaking and acting like an individual. Otherwise, there is no individual. Can you tell me? Oh, no, no, one of my friends, she told me everything. And then she said, you are talking about my problem. It's a privacy issue. I said, hell with you. I will not talk about your problem. You told me, that's why I'm talking about it. So ego takes the shape of an individual. Otherwise, there is no individual as such. Are you getting it? I believe so. I asked you the question, what is the reality of the pot without clay? There is no reality. There is no clay. There is no clay pot. So first there is a clay, then the clay pot becomes an individual. First there is a consciousness, then I attach this consciousness with the body and I say I'm an individual. Where is an individual? Sure. Individual means indivisible. Can you say your body is indivisible? Made up of trillions of cells. Can you say your mind is indivisible? It contains millions of thoughts. Where you are indivisible at the real self, not at the outer level. But our mind is hypnotized, mesmerized by ignorance that becomes the cause of suffering. So, the moment I become an individual, my mind says I am the body. So, when I say I am the body, I recognize you also as a body. Then we have two bodies. Then the mind says, what is the relationship between the two bodies? I am seeking peace and happiness from you. So I kept my peace and happiness in your life. Never keep peace and happiness in others' bank account. How much money you have, Stephen, in your account? Do you see that? This is how we start living our life. See that? Look at it. Understand. You have to live into that awareness. The super seeker lives into that awareness. And the moment you live into that awareness, it is gone. Ignorance is like a darkness. It simply disappears. You feel that you are settled inside. Calmness is there, the peace is there. So when I know myself as a clay, knowing myself as the body, the entire problem begins. Knowing clay as myself, now not as the clay pot, knowing clay as myself, the entire clay would be known. Knowing one content, everything in the universe becomes known. I'm making a big statement coming from the masters. So our Upanishad, our cream of the knowledge and the wisdom, there lies in the Upanishads. He says, knowing yourself, everything is known. knowing oneself. So that is why, I repeat it. Buddha says, be light unto yourself. Know thyself. You'll be surprised that you have a tremendous experience of inner power, the wisdom, the love, knowledge. And that is why the Buddha, that kindness, that love inside manifests outside, becomes the kindness and compassion. You should not practice compassion. You cannot practice kindness. Fear? No. Fearlessness, calmness, joy is always there. So, but how do we convert into understanding, knowing one content, everything is known in the universe? Or knowing one myself, everything is known in the universe. So people say, people talk about, you read the mind, etc., etc. They are very small things. This is more important to live in the state of mindfulness. In order to understand what is existence, from where the time, space, and all known and the unknown came from the existence. Everything that is in the past, present, and the future is existence. Existence is also beyond time and space. Why? We say, I am. I can say Stephen is that isness is consciousness. When I say clay pot, clay is existence in the clay pot. The clay pot does not exist. It appears in name and the form. So everywhere you see now the consciousness. You see the consciousness. Yes, you see the body also. You communicate, you think, you speak, you talk, you work hard, you earn money. But behind that, you see only one existence. Everywhere. The moment you start seeing it, that mind is transformed. When the mind is transformed, you find you are awakened. You live into that higher state of consciousness. And that higher state of the consciousness is to live in mindfulness 24/7. It is not the journey of 1 minute of mindfulness, instant mindfulness. It has nothing to do with it. Very bodiness. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Yes, use the metaphor. The body is a clay pot. It is made up of the clay. How can you say body is matter, cause of the matter is earth, cause of the earth is water, cause of the water is fire, cause of the fire is air, cause of the air is space, cause of the space is mind, cause of the mind is I am, and that I am is false, which identifies with the body as an individual. That individual does not exist. So what exists? Only existence. What is that existence? Consciousness. You don't understand. I have a problem, of a fear. So that fear pertains to the body. coming into the mind. I can go on explaining this. So we give a wrong notion to the fear because of ignorance, and then we find we are scared. Somebody else scares me. I find there are other people who are harming me. It does not exist. Let us go again in a slow manner. When I say being comfortable is awareness. Comfort is an experience in the mind. Why it is an experience in the mind coming from the body, but we are aware this body is a clay pot. I'm not a clay pot. I told those who are super seekers, they have an intense awareness. With that intense awareness, it is not carried away by the past impressions present in the mind. That is why I told you, we have to become a qualified seeker to live to in that state of mindfulness. Being comfortable. How I use, you all know it, that we look at the neck joint. It is a part of the body. I'm not an individual. That background knowledge is there. So you experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness in the neck joint. That belongs to the mind, not to me. Separation is clear. You cannot separate by removing the body part. It has to be done by the knowledge. We and even leave it the clay pot. You cannot remove the clay from the clay pot. You crush it, the clay will remain there. But the clay pot, the name and the shape disappear. So the same way, there is a sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Who are non-seekers, they enjoy. Oh, I feel comfortable, I feel relaxed. That's the beginning of a journey of mindfulness. Let the science do a lot of research studies. There's a physiological change. It doesn't work here. We are talking of something else. They are talking only of relaxation, physiological, biochemical, neurological relaxation. So, looking at the shoulder joint, now let us, if I say so, by the knowledge, you go deeper naturally. So, you look at the shoulder joints. Okay. So, when you look, you are aware. Looking means aware, feeling. So, what experience is there in the mind? Sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Very good. But the comfort belongs to the physical body. Are you aware that I'm not the body? Yes. Relaxation or comfort belongs to the mind. It is an experience of the mind. I'm not the mind. Steadiness, a sense of stillness. Only one thing is still in the entire existence. Why it is still? Because it never changes. It's a never changing reality. Who is that? I. No, 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 you are confusing me. No, I did not change when I had a child baby, when I had adult baby, when I had middle-aged baby, middle-aged body. You see that? It is here and now. And then what happens? The mind is absorbed into that stillness, if I say so. There are many, everyone experiences differently. But for the sake of understanding that mind is taken over by the stillness, even if you have lot of thoughts, they come and go. They are too far from you. So when you start living in mindfulness 24/7, even then the thoughts are coming and going. So you pick and choose. Why? Because you are living wisely. The mind says this guy is crazy, and you live in the state of mindfulness. You say, what I have to do with it, let him or her live. I'm different and separate. That is known as extraordinary awareness. Now, I'm using so that you have a clear understanding. I say, be carefree. Pay attention. I said, being carefree. Carefree from all the aspects of the clay pot. Where are the aspects of clay pot? Name, form, color, size, weight, properties. Why I said so? That is what our thoughts are. I believe you all got it. So carefree means free from all the cares of the mind. Why I feel stress? Because mind says remove the stress. The mind wants to care. But that very stress is feeling is different and separate from what I am. That is the meaning of being carefree. So the moment you are carefree, the stress is gone. I can tell you, even the fatigue, you have an extreme fatigue. You work for 20 hours and you have a fatigue. It can slip away. We're going deeper. That's why I'm talking about that. Carefree, free from all the thoughts. Now go a little deeper. I said, free from all the thought. All the thought gives us knowledge. Every thought. And thought contains I am plus an object. If I have a mathematical equation, thought is equal to I am plus object. And now apply algebra. I am is equal to thought minus object. I need not to crush, control, think, worried about any thought. You remove the object. Because if you have to remove that object, you become aware. Oh, you are not asking me to do anything. Yes, it is a non-practice. Saturday's sessions are non-practice. You simply become aware, here is an object in the thought, and here is I am, that is a thought, and then I am is equal to thought minus object. So you are aware of that object. That object is a stress, that object is anxiety, that object is your honey, that object is your any person, that object is your house, that object is your money. What did I say in the beginning? Never keep your happiness in the bank account of others. That others is an object. Once you know it, you are carefree, you are already there. It goes back again to the same clay pot in the body. Identification with the body. It recognizes, mind recognizes millions of objects. Millions of objects, millions of challenges. Millions of challenges, millions of experiences of anxiety, duality, conflict, problem, fight, and that is what is known as ignorance. What is ignorance? Wrong understanding, misunderstanding. So, where the misunderstanding takes place, it is in the mind. So, what happens? Thoughts. Thought gives us a knowledge that this guy is harming me, this guy is not good, that project is good. Long list. Clarity of understanding tells us that all these thoughts was making my mind wander, but now I am free from this. Mind is being carefree. See that. You have to see. You have not to practice. So if you say thoughts are still coming to my mind, so you want to be a seeker, and then you have to become a super seeker. Then only we can reach to that state of mindfulness simply by understanding, knowing. That was the journey of Buddha. The Eightfold Noble Path. It has been explained before by many, many masters, but by chance Buddha became popular. You see, any statement that I will speak or any instruction that I give will have an object, because without that object, mind cannot communicate. Can I see that? Can I live into that awareness? Awareness is independent of whatever the mind speaks. That is what I talked about it. Never keep your happiness in the bank account of others. You will always suffer. Look at another so-called step from the Mondays and Thursdays session, and we will translate that into knowledge. I told you, provided you are a super seeker. Common man's language, to make us understand. That's why I'm using the word super. So when I say look at the head and the neck, you are in fact aware. So now see, when I say look at the head and the neck, this sentence contains the object. You look, it means I am, but I am already aware of the head and the neck. But I'm pointing you to something. So that is why I say you look at the head and the neck. So let us first go into a traditional understanding. So when you look at the head and the neck, you are aware, you have a feeling, you are experiencing sensation, relaxation, and stillness. So all experiences takes place in the mind. Unless you have a clay pot, then only you can put the water or the tea or coffee into it. So this coffee and tea is sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Understand that. Be very clear. Oh, that is so. So it means that content in the cup is not me. I'm somewhere else. So you look inside the head and the neck. So again, you see the lower practice, we guide, we say, become aware of the space, become aware of the sensation inside the head and the neck. So that sensation represents the state of the calmness. Because when any sensation, you have a reference of any object outside. It is a movement in ignorance. Sensation is there, it will remain there. But then the mind is seeking happiness from others. Now you have a sensation inside. That also pertains to the body. A sensation of calmness is calm. And now you become aware of the space all around, emptiness all around. And that emptiness all around is nothing but the nothingness. It is the projection of the mind. Perhaps today I'm revealing it. Understand this. So we experience emptiness or the space, no doubt we experience it, but it is a projection of the mind. So even this darkness and emptiness is very subtler ignorance. The time comes, you find only the consciousness. That consciousness has nothing to do with darkness or emptiness. What do you mean? It is fullness. Where it is fullness. Consciousness appears as a Rakesh, appears as a David, appears as a Jerry, appears as a Girish, appears. Consciousness is appearing all the time. Is it not fullness? I just spoke of a higher journey. Do you see that? This is what it is. Pick up any other, look around the rib cage. So you pay attention. I made a sentence, look around the rib cage. So rib cage is an object. Now the mind changes the object. It feels. So that feeling is an object. It experiences sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Okay, you're talking of an object. You look inside, you see the space. Yes, that space is also an object. You see the darkness, that is also an object. Come on, how long? Until we have an objectless state. So in that objectless state, there is only consciousness. Because consciousness cannot become an object at any point in time. Whether you go back to trillions of years ago or now, that consciousness cannot be objectified by the mind. No, but answer me why. Consciousness created the mind. So mind is a creation. Consciousness is the creator. So any creation cannot make the creator an object. So there is no object, so there is no thought. There is no thought. The mind goes into the state of emptiness and it reveals our true nature. How simple. Simple for a super seeker, most difficult even for a seeker. Everyone is a seeker in this journey. Let's have some clear understanding. You are, we say you are in a particular state at this moment. There are two things. One is the state, other is a constantly changing experience. Constantly changing experience. Consciousness becomes you, appears as you, appears as me, appears as one experience, appears as second experience. What? That understanding coming from the masters amazes. State of being, that is what we see, the state of being, unchanging. Change of experience gives us clue, gives us an understanding where we are. The pure awareness of the consciousness remains. When we say pure, we recognize what we recognize. We recognize that consciousness cannot be polluted, prevented, rejected, is the cause of any stress and suffering, but it is of the nature of peace, happiness, love, and rest. That is the simple meaning of your consciousness. Thoughts are not there. No, they are there. Body is not there. No, they are there. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Don't go away. We'll share our experiences. First, bring the mind on the right hand. Bring your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms. Place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. How are you, Stephen?
Good. Thank you for that lesson. I felt like I was on a roller coaster ride. Um, just the going through the lesson, what you're trying to teach us, the concept of the clay and the clay pot, and how it relates to the consciousness. And I was just going through all of this, and I was like, okay. So the idea of it is that the peace, love, happiness, truth, wisdom, all lives within that pure consciousness, and
Yes.
everything else we create is the individual. And then I was like, okay, I'm getting this, and then I started to realize, going back to some of our other lessons, of the fact that pure consciousness is just one. That means that we're all sharing this peace, happiness, truth, all within the same consciousness. And it's just us creating this individuality aspect of it. And then I just kept getting pulled into wanting to go into nothingness, and then coming back to go, no, I still want to think about this and talk about this, and go on. And it was just this vicious circle. And I was like, which I'm not saying that in a negative way. That's my roller coaster. So thank you. I've got a lot to think about.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful narration. Our masters dares to say that this individuality is a myth. It is not a fact. It is only applicable for transactional reality. That's all. You're Stephen, I'm Girish, you're Rakesh. That's all. Finished. Let us exchange and talk. Finished. But in that exchange, we will talk next week on Saturday that how it happens. How are you, Brandy?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. I was thinking about how when you let go of the objects, whatever it is, I mean,
Yeah,
all the objects, right? And
yeah.
I started outside of myself, and then I was like, well, no, maybe I should start with my mind and my body and all that, and work outward. And then you start talking about like just all the things. How when you separate from that, it ties to what we talk about on Mondays and Thursdays, or especially this past week about um, being number one and the ego and all of that. Like none of it matters.
It doesn't matter.
It's really freeing to put it all together today. So like the non-practice is never a non-practice. I always say that on Saturday.
That's the beautiful. And the moment we understand this, the burden on the mind and the brain that I'm anxious, I have to do this and that, it drops down. You experience that state of the calmness. Beautiful. How are you, David and Jerry?
Sir, thank you. To Brandy's point, the non-practice is very much a practice, but I enjoyed the discussion about happiness in other people's bank accounts. And so my practice then was keeping all my happiness to myself, and just, it was blank. I felt a couple of times, I felt my head just kind of falling over because my body was so relaxed.
Beautiful. You see that you pick up any principle taught by masters and you can be there. It is not that we need many principles and, as Stephen says, many concepts, but we integrate many concepts so that we have a synergy, we have a clarity of understanding so that the mind is prevented to fall back again into ignorance. So that is, the moment you picked up that happiness is cannot be placed in the bank account of others. Simply done. Wonderful. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I think that you said so many things today, so it was a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And the knowledge of that light that we all share, right? So the bank accounts, we all kind of, Stephen said that, I think accurately, is that we do all share that oneness, right? We are all we are the same. And then the transactional places, our mind tries to confuse us and tries to put out all of that fear and doubt. But when we know, then we can just shine that light on all of our situations, and we can trust that we'll know what to do in those situations too.
Yes, that is what you explained. If I summarize, individuality, you maintain that individuality, that is ego and the mind, and plus all the problems and the challenges and the opportunities and the number one, and then you transit into the world. You will always have a problem. Look at the Bill Gates. See that? But when I do the transaction with that consciousness, there is no problem. There is the only difference. See that? How are you, Kate? Welcome back.
Thanks. Yeah, I kept on clicking. I couldn't get to you. It's all one. Thank you very much for for everybody being here. During the meditation, at first there was a deep awareness of, the mind and the body and then slowly kind of transcending that. And just being.
Just being, yeah. Just being is great. Beautiful. How are you, Swarna? We were communicating with a lot of people.
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to see and meet you like this. I am not so good these days, as I discussed with you. A combination of everything is going on in my head, in my heart. And that's the reason I think I'm here to get into that peace.
You see, at a very deeper level, it is individuality. That individual thinks like this, so I have a problem. So, but no worries. Continue with the Mondays and Thursdays session also at the same time. How are you, Rakesh?
Thank you, sir. So today, when you were asking for look at the neck joint and the shoulder joint, there was no neck and there was no shoulder, and there was no sensation as well.
Yeah, that's
later on, I found a split of myself into two. One was a constant one. The other was flickering to experience the other one, which was constant. So this is how it ended, and it was quite peaceful.
Yeah, that is the power of discernment. We discern between what is constantly changing and what is unchanging. How are you, Terry?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I don't see you, but you can keep on speaking, no issue.
Do you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I lost the picture. Wait a minute. Wait. Just a minute. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Okay. In the meantime, Vaibhav.
Yeah.
So I'm good. It's like that all the objects are moving around, and then after this certain time, it was clear. A sense of transparency starts. So
Ah,
it was peaceful, quiet.
peaceful, quiet. Very good. I just want to speak on this that everything is moving. In different practices of meditation and mindfulness, we have unusual experiences as if the earth is spinning and we take it as if it's a great experience. No, it has nothing to do with it. We simply discern with what is changing and what is not changing, what is moving and what is not moving. We live with that knowledge. So otherwise, if we get carried away by the changes, then we have lot of challenges. Yes, Terry, we are there.
Hi.
Hi.
In the beginning, I felt you were speak. I felt that you were speaking directly to me.
Beautiful.
In
Yes.
the meditation, I went pretty deeply into it. I had a question, but I later forgot it. But it was, if we know all this, and yet we still try to avoid death, even if we are, if it's not, we still try to avoid it. And I don't know
I have understood.
why
If
yeah.
I have understood your question as a simple answer, when you say I try to avoid, I have to drop that individuality. That is a myth. That says that I try to avoid. Aha.
For example, we wear a mask. We don't want to get ill.
No, we have to pay attention to the light, not to the darkness. How to throw the darkness out, how to avoid the duality and a conflict. No need, no need. Why? In that consciousness, there is no duality. So how it is created? By the mind. Mind creates an individuality, and then individuality says, you see that you don't understand, I have a lot of problem. But you are not an individual. How can you have a problem?
Somebody thinks they are. Well, I guess that's the forget.
That comes later. Forgiveness, kindness, etc. That comes later. That how to do the transactional, how to live in the transactional world.
Yeah, that's what I mean. How to live.
Yeah. That is a lower step. That comes once we are there in that state of pure consciousness as a real self. Then the moment you are working, doing a transactional in the world, that mind creates an individuality for the sake of that thought, speech, and action. And after that, it leaves you. So there is a simultaneous awareness of the real self and the so-called false individual self. You had a good question. So are you Samir? So we have Samir, Ashok, and Anesthesia. Yes.
Sir, more I have started understanding the principles now. It is becoming very easy to get into the meditation.
Yes.
Understanding of principles are helping me a lot in getting into the meditation quickly and very easily. This is as in day-to-day life also, in the morning also, in the evening also. It is not only in the when you teach. It is happening with me.
Very good. That he raised a beautiful point that knowledge is always first. Then we should have an intense desire to realize that knowledge. That makes you a seeker. And then you do the practice. If we do not have an intense desire, it doesn't work. If you don't have a right knowledge, it will not work. And then we will run after 5 minutes of instant meditation, 10 minutes of this power and that power. So we run after the power. Are you Ashok? Are you powerful? I see the Shiva in the background.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir.
It was very good and quietness and peaceness as well.
Beautiful. How are you, Anastasia?
Thank you very much. It was very deep and observing, and I had a lot of contemplation and reflection on this lesson. So thank you very much.
Beautiful, Anastasia. Yeah, we need to have a lot of contemplation, and that is all for today. We'll meet on Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Namaste,
sir.
sir. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you.